We're chasing comedy, working on jokes, working on bits, seeing what sticks, seeing what stinks. We're Brian and Dustin, and we're chasing comedy.
I need some New York stage time, so I might do a Governor's and a couple of city spots.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
That's always what I like to do. Just spend like a week and a half, just do Governor's and then do some comic strips and some Broadway and wherever else they'll let me.
Greenwich.
Put on a hat and grab a mic. Greenwich is weird because when I like it there, performing there, but when it's like, when you run a club and then you come back as just the comedian, it's a lot of weird memories because then you have to get out of that producer mode when you're just a comic in a room that you used to run, because you're like, oh, that shouldn't be like that. Okay,
right.
We got the lights wrong. Okay, why did they put that over there?
Right.
Why is this guy hosting? You know what I mean? So you find yourself going into that thing that just makes you want to do the room right. And I have a problem with that in general when I go to most rooms, because I produced comedy for 20 years, that I'll go any room I'm in, I'm always just like, oh, that should be this way, this should be this way. I mean, every time I go into any room, I feel like they're doing it wrong.
But like producing the show, and then you come at it from the producer hat, and then also there's the maybe it doesn't even bother you anymore. Think about it, but like whenever, if I'm coming into like a show that I produced or a place that I did something, or I'm revered or thought of in a different level, then I also have that thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to crush here now. Like probably don't think about that, but I always think
I never want to really crush. I feel like I don't want to. I'm what you would call a half throttle comic on purpose. Like I don't. What are you talking about? I don't want to crush. What are you?
No. That's not what I mean. What I mean is I'm actually kind
You're
of
a bigger deal than me. I get it. There's more pressure on you.
No, obviously not. Obviously not. What I'm saying is that maybe I'm giving you more credit than I should, is what you're saying, because like I'm basically going, because I think about that even in the I feel like it's a flaw that I'll go to. Because people say, oh, you got to be able to bomb, you got to be able to eat it, you got to be able to, and I always go, that is one of the hardest things for me in any situation where I go to an open mic night or anything, to just completely go up and just eat it, right? Like purposefully, meaning that you go up without, you're not going to use your saber lines, you're not going to use your, pivot into a material to pull your set out of the mud.
I know what you're saying. It's like, it's interesting too when you do a show and they're very excited that you're there, and you just want to be like, lower your expectations. I'm going to eat it for 5 minutes on this chunk that never works, but I'm going to do it here because I'm not getting paid. No, I get it. Exactly. I get that thing. Well, I have one room in LA, and it's called The Dime, and it's like mostly comics kind of gather, and you might have a few people. And what's really funny is that's my Netflix is a joke show. It's like the hardest room in LA.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just chaos all the time.
Right.
So
that's funny.
It's really funny. But I was like, hey, I made a flyer, man. I made that Netflix is a joke flyer. That's all it is out here. We're just like, you got to make the Netflix flyer. If you make that, you're doing good, because they don't know how bad the show is in like middle America.
Yeah.
But so speaking of shows.
Segway City. Welcome to Segway City.
So,
smooth segues with Dustin Chafin.
I treat comedy much like I treat my love for music, in the sense that I feel like I'm always wanting to find, new bands. I always want to know, what's happening in the music scene, what's, who's the next Led Zeppelin, what's going on, that kind of thing. And so I'm that way with comedy as well. And I feel like sometimes there was a time in my comedy life where I was very resentful of anything that I wasn't a part of, or anything that I felt was kind of a new version of comedy. I would just be like, you just, you don't know what you're doing. You got to do comedy this way. That's how all the legends did it, that kind of thing. And so I'm watching that Netflix show, Funny as AF, which is the worst name I've ever heard in my life. It's like, why do people keep using like, things that we don't say anymore? Nobody says AF anymore. Like, it's like when people use like popular, like LOL Comedy Club. Nobody's going to be saying LOL in 10 years. Like, why are you naming your club after that? So anyway, name is terrible. But and it's Kevin Hart, who we all have a love-hate relationship with, where I feel like he's a funny person, but it's like you can't get away from him, and it's like, you turn on the commercial, there he is. You turn on the thing, there he is. He's always around. He's like this guy that owes you money that just keeps showing up. But it's a weird, it's a weird thing, our relationship with him. But I would say this, he does do something that a lot of comics at his fame level don't do, and that's try to introduce new comedians on showcases and television shows. And so it's this thing where it's just like I'm watching it, and it's like, because it's interesting how people, I know you hate this idea of a contest, as I do as well. I've done a lot of contests and things like that. And it's, I've gotten things out of them, but they're always like so grueling and just, it's just not a good thing for a comic headspace to be in. And so, but this is what I thought was funny, is this show's a hit. But the show he did before this, what is that noise? Is that LA? Or that New York? That's siren is it? Is it an LA siren or New York?
Who's a new show? Whose siren is it?
You get shot in the West Coast or East Coast?
That's the new name. That's the name they should have gone with. Whose siren is it? Okay.
All right, I'll end soon. Trust me. I'm just trying to get it. I'm trying to paint this nicely. And so Kevin Hart did another thing before this, called Joke in the City or whatever, or something like that. And it was him showcasing comedians. It was not a contest show. It was more of a showcase show, kind of taking comics that he thought were good comics and doing like the little documentary thing and kind of backstage and, their life and everything. And then showcasing them on stage, and nobody cared. The show is gone. Nobody really got anything from it. I feel like it was a show that nobody really watched, because people watching comedy, they need some, the average person needs some sort of drama. So anyway, they created the new Last Comic Standing, which is basically what this show is, where they take comics and they put them in kind of these situations where they have to compete against each other, and they have to go up on stage in the worst possible, like 11 o'clock in the morning, and like horrible times. And, and I told you on the show where I had a meltdown on Last Comic Standing, and I went after the producers, because it was the second year. And I remember it was at Caroline's. It was 11 o'clock in the afternoon, or 12 or something noon. And I was drinking back then. I probably had a hangover, and I get on stage and I'm headlining. I'm one of the first comics that's not really famous to be headlining like a Thursday at Caroline's, before they started doing that a lot. And so it was a big deal to me. And so I was headlining that night at that club. And so I get on stage and for this audition for Last Comic Standing. And it's just two guys, the guys that used to produce The Tonight Show, and Ross and somebody, and they're sitting there. And I get up, and, I barely got like a minute in, and they're like, all right, next. And then I was just like, hey, I didn't get to finish my joke, and they were like, we've seen enough. And I go, have you? And then I just kind of went off on them. And I said, have you ever grabbed a microphone? I go, I'm headlining this club tonight. Like, you can't give me any respect. And they're like, well, we've been producing a Tonight Show. I go, that's not the question. Have you ever done stand-up comedy? And they were like, no. And so then why are you choosing who should advance to this thing when you've never had this experience? You have no idea what you're doing. And so I went off. It was a whole thing, and they didn't even air it. That's how rough it was. And so I could have at least gotten the punk rock vibe from that, but they didn't even do that for me. And so it was a whole thing. And the next year that they started doing it again, they had all comedian judges. It was like they changed out those two. Those two left. I feel like I'm responsible for them bringing in like Greg Giraldo and all those comedians, because I felt like they just realized, it's like, yeah, he's probably right, but we hate this guy. And the producers try to go after me, and they try to get my show pulled at like Comedy Club. Like they would after. I wrote an article about it. Cringe Humor, and they just the son of the producer like went to like Al Martin and said, you know, you shouldn't have this guy at your club, and like it was a whole thing, man. Like big
wow
over just 2 minutes of me just basically saying, you're not a comic, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right,
so
right.
That was my experience with the great TV.
Is this on film somewhere?
I just told you they didn't air it. So
yeah. Oh no, I know that. I'm saying someone has this somewhere.
Yeah, I doubt I can call up NBC and be like, "Hey, could you get the footage of me freaking out on the two producers? Could you send that to my agent, please?" I doubt that's possible.
Well, you know, my issue with all of these kinds of shows, it goes back to, if you remember the scandal with Last Comic Standing with Dan Natterman and that fan, you know, where it was rigged, and they didn't tell anyone it was rigged, and Brett Butler, and I mean, no one remembers this because it's like only comedy nerds remember this, but like it was a big, huge thing that they found out that the producers had final say. They were saying, "We're gonna now you vote on who you like," and Natterman crushed. And he had a better set, but the producers didn't want him. They wanted that fan, so they gave it to him. And then, what's his name? Who's the other guy that was the judge on that show? That was on that show, he had his own show, you know, in Minnesota or something. It was set where they're dancing at the beginning. The big, very famous comedian. You know, like it had his own sitcom for years. Big glasses, kind of heavy set
Drew
guy.
Carey?
Drew Carey, yeah. Sorry, I'm blanking out. Drew Carey and Brett Butler were like, "This is horrible. What is going on? We voted for that guy. Why he won? Well, this is a scandal." It was in the press. It was all over the place. There's footage of Dan Natterman like inconsolable backstage. I remember seeing it, horrified, right? And it was just a huge thing. It was a pull the curtain back moment for television where the show was exposed as being not what it appeared to be. Yeah. And there's an artifice to anything like this. And God love, I want to see people who deserve it. Caitlin Pluvo is so funny, and Usama's really funny. And so guys getting breaks like that is awesome. It's not even that. It's that there's so many moving parts within the artifice of what show business, big business, and all of that stuff is about, where it isn't there, that it isn't like granular stand-up in a weird way. There's like you could crush on something like that. Even like Ralphie May said that they didn't want him to win on or whatever, and he said his career took off because so many people liked him better, and he talked about it. The producers I would
say defense to the show for Ralphie May. I mean, his last set, he talked about his grandpa and he cried, and it was uncomfortable. It was like a weird.
Oh, okay, whatever.
He did a joke for his grandpa, a street joke. Okay. It was weird. But yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. Because of that show, Gary Goldman, Ralphie May, it's like some really good comics came out of that. Yeah. So Rich Voss had a moment on there. There was a lot of comics that are good comics that got. And you want to see. Sorry. Go ahead. No. But I think everything is rigged. Everything. If you think about it, it's like everything is rigged in comedy. It's like who gets the Tonight Show, who knows the producer, who gets this show, who gets that show, who gets into the festivals, who gets into the thing. I mean, everything is just like somebody's manager knows somebody's agent, somebody's thing, and so everything is rigged to an extent. It's like everybody. I mean, that show was crazy. I mean, the person producing it managed like 5 of the comics, and so it was like a whole thing. Right. But
yeah, and I don't begrudge. I just don't. My only thing is what's ironic to me is that comedy, and you even see them talking about it on the show, and it's great to see people being given an opportunity to showcase their talents like that. That's awesome. The thing that's funny is they make there always this thing about comedy, which is authenticity. You want to see the most authentic thing, and then you put it in an arena in which the authenticity is the most manipulatable. Like they you can pump up things with laughs, you can cut it a certain way, you can cut jokes, you can do, and so it's always there's a way of framing anything in order to make something.
I mean, and I don't have a problem with some of that. I mean, it's just like, I did Comics Unleashed.
It's a show. It's show business.
Comics Unleashed. It's very set up for the comics to look good or whatever. Whereas this show, it's like sometimes it's set up for comics to look bad, and I get it. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that is in your control, and that is what you do when you grab the mic and there's an audience in front of you. And some of the guys were able to get rid of all of that. And then some of them were, it made them freeze. And there was a couple of guys that had bad sets and things like that. Yeah. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, as a comic, we're gladiators. You have to grab the mic and just be funny and make the audience laugh. And so if all those elements are there and you still crush, the Dan Natterman thing was, it was also a vote or something, a TV vote. And it's similar to what's happening with this show. But I don't know. I look at it like everything has changed in comedy. And so I'm not surprised that things like this are popular again, because the way TikTok and things like that have like blown people up as comedians, as opposed to the old fashioned way of like working the road and stuff like that.
Yeah. So. But that's my point, is that it hasn't changed, because television in and of itself, it operates within a certain framework.
Television has changed. It's gone. I mean, you do the Tonight Show now as opposed to 20 years ago. It's a completely different experience for you.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the artifice of a show like that, which requires and has certain rules that restrict. Like I always think of, didn't Bill Hicks audition for Star Search or do Star Search and lost? I'm pretty sure stuff like that, where you see the best comics don't necessarily thrive in the environment within the context of that. And if you look at the winners of Star Search, the people who won on Star Search, maybe that's a bad example.
There's some good comics who won Star Search. Dennis Miller did
some very good very good comics. Some very good comics. Like one. But if you look at the overall, how many? What do we got? Give me some names, because there's 12 of them or whatever who won on Star. Right, Sinbad won.
Brett Butler won.
Jenny Jones. Jenny Jones. Alu Bell. Okay, Alu Bell won. And then there's guys, there's some other guys that are probably working comics.
Al Bell's a prime example. If you just got a haircut, maybe things would have worked out a little better. Right. Okay. Sometimes you got to think
the hair was the issue, but there's but I'm just saying, in comedy, there's some people, you might say that somebody like a great comic or something isn't someone who's going to fit into the mainstream.
No, I understand all
those shows require,
Yeah. But I think the show is good in a lot of ways and bad in a lot of ways, and that's just how it is. That's showbiz.
Yeah.
But I do, but I just I was watching I only watched 3 episodes, and I watched the New York showcase and the LA showcase. And, I'm very connected to young New York comedians because I ran shows and I feel like I mentored a lot of people. And so I was really curious what these new guys, and some of the guys on the show, I would never give stage time to. I remember them coming at me and I was like, you're not ready, whatever. I just never see it. And even on the show, I was like, I was right. And
oh, you mean some of the people that were on the show were people
some of the people are advancing, and I was like, I was right. I don't care what show you're on. But it's just interesting to see. I felt New York was very dirty. I felt like I was really surprised by how blue New York was. I felt like I
wouldn't say that's new. Can I just say something in defense of New York? It was blue, but that's only because of who they chose to be on the show. That's not necessarily
I'm just saying these comics that they chose were very blue. Yeah. And I feel like there's a thing in comedy, as where it's changed with TikTok and all these things. I get all that, but it's like, don't you want to get on a late night show? Don't you want to have a more mainstream audience? And I feel like sometimes the comics, there's nobody there to really guide them, and they just kind of go off and do whatever they want. There was so much cursing and so much crazy, dick jokes and things. And so it was weird. And then I felt the LA version I felt it was a little more highbrow with some of the choices and material. I felt some of it was a little more sophisticated. And I liked the comic that was with Kevin, Tom Segura. I thought I feel like he has a very intelligent comedy, approach. He can be blue, but he's also very smart. He's kind of like Louis in that sense, where he can take something blue and still make it intricate and funny. But I just, it was just one of the things. But the point of today was, it's funny. The guest is coming on. I'm friendly with him for a long time, and we've worked together and done a bunch of stuff. And I feel like he had mentioned a post about, that the show is great, but they're not really looking for the next, middle-aged up-and-coming comic. And then I made a snarky remark, and I was like, that's what AGT is for, because I feel like they'll have a guy that's 100 on that show just for the gimmick alone. But it is true. I feel like there's a definitely, I think you need to be in this for a while to be good at it. And then especially some of us start later. And so it's like, I started closer to my 30s than my 20s. Yeah. And so, I felt like, you see guys, like Chappelle and these guys, start when they were like 14 or whatever. And you're just like, how much funnier would I be if I had, experience like that? But would I be funnier? I don't know. I wouldn't have
some people, some people take longer. I was always a good comic, right? I was always a good comic. I'll say that openly. I got work right away. I was always a good comic. But I've gotten so much better now that I know my own voice and I write for it consistently more. And so there's a seamlessness to what I do that everything kind of fits together. And that takes a long time to learn for comics. And in this grinding world of social media and everything else, people are like doing it for 4 years and want to get a Netflix special and want to do that. And that's understandable. What else would you do? But it takes a long time to find your voice like that, Well,
that's what's crazy about this show is they get a Netflix special. And to be honest, I'm not trying, I'm not trying to create controversy. I feel like the comics that I saw, I don't know if you can fill that time. I don't know. Maybe you can with material. And it's a weird spot too, because what are you going to do? The same bits you did on the show? I guess you do. I mean, so it's like a really weird thing.
The other thing is, I think with the whole age thing that we talk about, it's easy to bemoan they don't have anyone older, but it's like, such is the way show business and the acting world and Hollywood has been forever. Like that you can,
but you could fight against that. Rodney fought against it. Nobody knew who Rickles was till he was older.
Right, that's true.
Joan Rivers fought through it. Phyllis Diller was.
No, they will. Those people. It's funny. It's like Steve Martin said, if you want, you have to be so good that they can't ignore you. Like you have to be so funny and so great that eventually, it's like eventually if you're just going up, it's really true. If I tell comedians this, it's like, if you get up every night, right, and slaughter, like if you own the room, like every night, which is hard to do, especially against heavy hitters in the city or LA. But if you do that consistently, there's no denying your own power unless you're sabotaging yourself on some level or holding yourself back on some level. Because there's great comics that we all know that aren't where they're supposed to be or should be, or you would think that you, whatever. You can name people, but I think with the consistent level of slaughtering that if you do that, if you cater to that, and you don't have, and you clear out your own issues about success or fame or whatever, some of which I have that, then you do have a path to something, I think
the path is making a living. That living may not be 4 houses and 3 boats, but it's making a living. If you can destroy a crowd, somebody wants to use you. It might be on a ship, it might be at a Funny Bone, it might be, city spots, it might, whatever it may be. If you do well, you will get asked to do it again. And that's really the common goal. So today, I feel like, it's important to showcase comics. And I wanted to bring up Adam Muller. I think I said his name right. I've known him for like 15 years, and I always say it wrong.
Let's clear that up on the show.
He's a very, very funny guy. And I met him. He started late, and he had everything against him. He worked in finance. Nobody likes finance people. He's a white guy. Nobody likes white guys. And he started kind of in his middle age. And so nobody likes that. And I worked with him a lot, and I got to kind of really get to know him. And what I liked about him was that I became a nerd for comedy. Like, he really listened to all the podcasts. He watched all the specials. He would be the guy that would hang out in the back of the room and watch the show, and just really get to know or have real conversations with real comedians to get, the understanding of what it is to be a real comic. And then he had a hard time with like clubs sometimes. Like, he would just be the best one on the show at some sort of like bringer situation, and they promised a thing and he wouldn't get something. And so he carved his own path and created his own content, and created his own specials, produced his own specials, and got himself out there. And he's headlining clubs and doing a lot of stuff and past the Comedy Cellar and things that, most comics, don't put in the work to get those things. He had to work a little harder. And so let's play his clip off his newest special, and then we'll bring him in and see what he's got to say. Here's Adam Muller.
Healthy, she's great. She's terrific. The only reason I mention it is because last year when she was going to her chemo appointments, she would take a healing crystal with her. And now she's telling everyone the crystal worked. And I just want her to say, and the chemo. The crystal and the chemo. I just think that the radioactive chemical they pumped directly into her veins did some of the heavy lifting. I don't even mind if she says that the chemo activated the crystal. That'd be fine. I just don't want anyone to die because she didn't.
There you go. That's funny.
Adam Muller, everybody.
Hey. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you great.
Perfect.
What's up, buddy?
Wow, well, look at that palatial pad of yours.
Yeah.
I know that's a background.
You probably picked the wrong virtual background after you said I was a finance guy.
I love it that you're still old school pandemic, that you're still doing the virtual background. I love it.
Well, my apartment's a mess. That's the only reason.
Now you have a grand piano. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't bring you in all weird, but was happy to have you on the show. And
oh, no, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I didn't set up that clip fast enough. It's like your girlfriend, she got cancer, and then she got into crystals, and then she thought the crystals healed her, and I think that's why that's such a good joke. It's so funny. You're like, the chemo probably had something to do with it.
It had something to do with it. Yeah.
Something to do with it.
Science sometimes steps up.
That's a fun dark joke.
Yeah. I love that joke. And I love that you kind of like, you kind of have an old school style, kind of like me in the sense, and some of us who we actually like, Brian too, we like punchlines, punchlines are not a bad thing. So I love.
Yeah. Adam and I just did our my current offenses show. We had we had a great, did we lose? Did we win? Did we lose?
I think it was a tie, but I think we should have won.
What is this, soccer? Nobody ties in comedy. Come on.
No, I know. We have plenty of that on our show. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to showcase you and like let people, know that you're a great comic, and I have such a past with you, and so it's just wanted to talk comedy, and and just I feel like a lot of people get showcased that deserve it, and some people don't, and so we think you deserve it. So I just wanted you to jump in with us and just hang out, and do we get people to kind of follow your comedy and stuff? Or I
don't think a week goes by the way, where I don't talk about the opportunity I had at Greenwich, seating people to do the check spots and standing in that dank hallway watching shows. I actually, a couple of days ago, I was talking to someone about it, because I was telling them, so I don't remember exactly what happened, but I was telling them, don't say anything to people when they come off stage. And then I explained where I learned that. If they say something to you, you can respond, but don't say nice set when you don't know how they felt about their set.
That's
or
funny.
if you didn't watch it, that's the biggest thing.
Or if you didn't watch it, sure.
Mostly that. I think if you enjoyed the set and you're like, oh, I like, what I say to comics, young comics, I say, like, if you're going to say something, then pick out the joke that you liked. Just say, hey, I liked that race joke you did or whatever. Like, say something specific so I know that you were aware aware of what I was doing, as opposed to, hey, nice set. You know,
Definitely don't start by offering a tag.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Have you thought of this? Have you considered maybe switching that one or adding this? Because I have an idea. Yeah, that's always, oh my God, that is so crazy.
Sometimes the audience will like offer you a tag, and I'm not going to lie, I've used a few, but young comics.
Not often.
Yeah, I think there's that funny story where Wanda Sykes was at the Comedy Cellar or something, and there was a young comic that was on in the back, and she was on stage killing and doing what she does. She's such a great comic, and he's writing notes down about her set. He's just like writing all these things down, and then after the show, he walked up to her and he was just like, "Hey, Wanda, you were really funny. I have some notes on your act and some tags and things." And she said, "Oh, really? Oh, can I have it? Can I have it?" And she just ripped it up in front of me.
Oh my goodness. I wish no one's ever walked up to me with a sheet of paper, but that is the move. That is the
I'm so desperate.
I got a sheet of paper once.
Oh, you got a sheet?
Written down, they had named every single joke. There were no ideas. There was just X's and check marks.
Yeah. Wow.
What worked? I was like, what is this?
Wow.
That's actually kind of useful. You're like, okay, these are the jokes that people really
I kept it. I didn't say anything. I just put it in my pocket, thanked him, and left.
I still use it as
and
my
I did look at it when I got home, and I was like, he's not wrong.
That's
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, but I think there's definitely a protocol, when I ran the Greenwich Village Comedy Club, it's like, I really took it serious in how, the vibe should be for comics to get better. And I think, and that's the downside and the upside, it's like, comedians don't want to, produce shows, and it takes away from your own stand-up comedy, and it definitely drains you, and, everybody's asking for a spot and whatever. But on the upside, kind of what I was saying with those producers that I yelled at, where it's like, I know comedy, so I know how to help somebody get better. I know what spots to put them in. I know who's going to be a good host. I know who's going to, a lot of people running comedy don't know anything about the craft and who should go first and who should go, they don't know anything about it. And that's why a lot of shows are just kind of like just chaos, because there's nobody that's grabbed the mic and knows what this is supposed to be like.
And not only that, but for like those competition shows, one of the things I always like have an issue with for any kind of show like that is that comedy being so fragile, that placement on the show, where you go on the show, what the dynamic in the room is, and also we as viewers of comedy, people with even sophisticated taste, can watch someone on an off night and think that guy's not good, right. And then you see them in their element, and or a different night, you're even influenced. Everyone thinks that they're not influenced by the environment. Oh, I can see through that if a guy's bombing. I can see through that. And sometimes you can, but other times we all can be influenced by what's around us to go, this guy's not good. And then you see, I thought that, wow, this guy's much better than I thought. I assumed things. There's so many working parts to comedy that people don't understand. Unless you see somebody over an extended period of time where you see it's always one set. You know what I mean? They never watch you. Well, I mean, obviously the show now, funny as AF or whatever, is watching you over like, if but even that first show, if you don't get past that first hurdle, you might have a bad night that night. And of course they say, well, you got to step it up a notch, but a million things can happen and a million things can necessarily go wrong. It's incredibly fragile. The
judging is I've done a contest shows where I was like, well, I'm definitely not moving on. And I'm in the green room changing my flight and canceling the hotel to find out I won the show. And then I've done the ones where I was like, oh, I crushed that. I was the best. And then I don't advance. So it's like, it's like, well, it is whatever. It is what it is. It's hard. It's a hard thing to judge.
I've always liked the comics that a lot of times would lose the crowd. I mean, I'm an early Mark Maron fan, and I used to see Mark when it was like they just didn't get on board with what he was doing. And it was just, I saw him at a prom show. I saw him like so many different elements he should not have been in, but I always saw the genius. And I saw some of you guys, I would see you guys like, that's why I think comics, it's good for some comics to run rooms, because if I see somebody bomb, and then maybe I'm trying to work them into a club that I'm running or whatever at the time. It's like, I just zero in on their set. I don't zero in on the audience. And that's the problem with a lot of people that run clubs, is it's like, oh, you didn't kill, and so you can't come back here or whatever. But it's like, you have to really look through all that. And that's and you only get that from knowing how to do this. If you don't know how to do this. Well, that's the
gift of a very good and experienced, comedy booker. And a lot of them aren't.
Yeah, most of them aren't. Most of them.
So it's hard. Like when someone bombs, but you're like in the back dying because you're like, this is some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard.
Yeah,
the audience just isn't connecting.
And
it doesn't mean they're bad.
And a lot of comedy bookers get lucky. Like Mitzi Shore got lucky that comedy just started, and it's like there was like 12 comics, and so and they happened to be Richard Pryor and Robin Williams and David Letterman and all the. But it's like and then it's like, and then a lot of clubs, like I always say that I'm kind of the farm seller for all the A clubs when I ran the Greenwich, because it was like they were coming to me to get good, and then they would go to the better club to expand and whatever. But it's like you got to get good somewhere, and I feel like a lot of people aren't willing to give comics enough opportunities to grow. They just like be good once, and then that's all you get. You get that one shot, that one audition. And so, but when it's televised, it's a whole nother thing, because then
and not many, in comedy, you got prodigies. You got people like Chappelle that walked on stage at 17 and they're just prodigies, right? Like Bobby Fischer, or, somebody who just walks on and just is masterful and scary good, right off the bat. And there's people like that haven't been doing comedy very long, but, and then you go, wow. And yes, they're not great necessarily comics yet, but you can see amazing stuff in them, or you hear a joke that you go, wait a minute. Like, that's the thing that gets my ear. When I see a comic do a tag that I didn't see coming, and I go, wait a second, what was that? That is often, that it doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, you go, wait a minute, that's special right there. And that's not a joke from a 5 year in comic or something, or a young, you'll hear a young comic. Jay Moore had a couple of those jokes when I remember seeing him as a young comic, and I went, wow, that's not what I expected from a young guy like that, and I went, wow, that jarred my ear. It caught my ear right away. I was like, that's a very smart, sophisticated joke coming from a young person or whatever. And I remember that always stands out to me when I watch a comic on stage. Most comics will write a joke and then they'll bail, write a joke, then they bail. I'm like the opposite. I'll write 27. I overwrite. That's my problem. And I'll just keep writing and then I come on the show and annoy Dustin because I'm doing the same bit. Because I go, can I work on my Jim Jones bit again? I
was thinking of that exact bit as you were talking.
He will. I mean, he's basically in the cult of writing that cult bit.
Yeah, I really
can't get out. He can't get out of the cult bit.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. But I'm like, but I do put a bow on things sometimes. But
you're a prime example of somebody that has, Brian, that has put in the work, and it makes a difference. And I feel like, because, Nate Bargatze, it's like he broke at like 40. And so his, work ethic was incredible. And he was able to, once he got the fame, he was able to have everything. He was ready for it. Whereas I feel some people get the fame and then you're like, I mean, I'd love to do a Netflix special, but at the same time, would I be ready for it? You got to tell yourself that. And some of these guys that are, have an opportunity on this particular show we're talking about, it's like, I hope it's a great special, because if I've seen some podcasters that put on specials that weren't that great and it didn't really help their stand-up thing, but they had the podcast to rely on. So they'll be fine.
Some people it's like having a child at a young age where you're not ready and you're completely not ready and you do it anyway. But like I could have a kid now. I've worked out my traumas and issues. I could have a kid now. I'm not going to have one, but I could have a kid now. I might know what I'm doing with it. Like getting fame. Same thing. It's like I don't know if I would have been able to deal with it or not known how to handle it, or I wasn't ready at the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm way more, at ease with myself. I know my own voice, and I pretty much. But that takes a while to do that sometimes with some people. And
I don't think none of us on here should ever have children. I think there's a reason why we don't.
True.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I said I could. I didn't say I'm going to.
I could do a lot of things. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a good dog dad. That's enough. I think I've proved myself with my little dogs. I think that's all the dad I need to be. So,
but can I just say, Adam? I loved Adam. Wait, one thing. I just want to say, Adam. I loved having Adam on he's done our current offenses show, and some people come on that show and they don't shine on the show because it's a totally different mindset. You come on the show, you do your A material, and then you have to write jokes based on stuff that the audience is suggesting or stuff that's in the news and everything else. And Adam's a really good joke writer, like pure, like, okay, let's get into the granular stuff of this. And we write stuff on the show, and and some of it kills. It's always fun. Like, this is going to kill nothing, like we had a couple on the last show that were like that, and some of them
we took a couple risks that worked though.
Yes, we definitely did.
That are not repeatable.
No,
in the context of a podcast.
Yeah. Well, Adam is, one thing I liked about watching you, Adam, in the beginning is you were fresh and you were new and you were figuring it out, but you understood joke structure. And I think there's a lot of people been doing this 10 years that don't understand joke structure. And so even if you had a premise that was maybe not as, as good as you wanted it to be or whatever, it would still, something would come from the audience because it was like you set it up in the structure of a setup, and a joke and the punchline and everything. So I think that's important. So I want to praise you a little bit. So I'm very I have a lot of admiration for you and your self-producing your content and, two specials, right? You got 2 specials out?
Yeah.
2 specials out, albums, you got them on Sirius, you passed the Cellar. Like all these things are great. And can you just walk through a little bit of the self-producing? Because I think it's like a lot of people think that, you should wait to be picked, to do things. And the fact that you kind of dug in is like, I'm going to invest in myself and I'm going to produce myself. Yeah. And I think it's really cool. Just walk us through kind of the process of like coming to that decision and then just kind of, how much work it is and how much it's paid off.
Yeah. I mean, I can distinctly remember getting sick and tired of being brought to stage as clubs and colleges or all over town. And I thought, wait a second, if I just produce a special and put it on YouTube, I can be brought up as special on YouTube called whatever the name's going to be. That sounds way better than the generic all over town.
One of our favorites here.
Yeah. Club favorite. And the reality is I looked around what was happening with social media and I thought worst case scenario is I tape something and I get, 6 months of clips, and hopefully it actually is worthy of a special, and then I have complete control over it. Like, but the 2 specials I did are on YouTube. They've done great, but if Netflix called me tomorrow and said we need you to tape a special in a month, I could just go onto YouTube and turn them off. Right? Compile the best 45 to 60 minutes of those 2 hours plus my new hour, and then go and then work it for a month and then record it. And the people that have watched it on YouTube, they're not going to care.
Yeah,
they may not even know. It's a bit of a different audience. It's much harder to burn stuff. I don't think Netflix would care. So it seemed like a no-brainer. The biggest impediment, frankly, the 2 biggest impediments are one, there's cost involved. But if you can get it on Sirius, you can recoup that cost. And YouTube, if you've monetized on YouTube, you can make enough. Look, you're not gonna pay your rent with it, or at least I didn't. But it recouped the production cost and then a little bit more, and I'll keep getting paid going into the future here in dribs and drabs.
Well, I think it made you a better comic because I always tell comics, it's like, what's the best thing you can do? I say, give yourself a timeline. That's the best thing you can do. I'm recording an album in February, and you tell yourself that, and it's like, you have to get ready for that February date. And that will force all the laziness out of you to kind of like prepare for that. And so I think
you'll write another good 5 to 10 minutes in the months leading up to it because your brain feels like it needs to, and it just comes out with there's nothing like putting a flag in the ground and saying, I'm recording something that day, whether it's good or not.
Yeah. You told everybody you're doing it. Yeah. I mean,
and the other hard part is just getting the audience, making sure you can fill the room. And not with just all friends and family, even if you have enough of them, because they might not be comedy fans, so you're not going to like the laughs. You need to somehow have an audience that is, worthy of the work you've put in.
Where'd you shoot the both of those?
Both of those were shot at West Side Comedy Club. They look very different because there's a little more production value on the second one to kind of hide the location a bit and make it look different from the first.
Right.
And the first was very like duct tape and, instead of hiring people, I bought a camera. I used the club's camera. I found some other cameras. I stuck them all over the room. I stuck Zoom recorders in every nook and cranny.
Right.
And I was like, let's do this and see what happens. And it worked out. And in the second one, I was like, let's do this. I don't want to be duct taping things to the ceiling 5 minutes before the show starts.
Right.
I'd rather be in the green room going over the set list.
Yeah.
No, it's very punk rock. I love it. I think that's that's how you're supposed to do it, I think it's important for comics to produce. And that's the thing. It's like, as much as we hate where comedy's gone, as far as social media and all those things, that's the plus side is that you can produce your own material and you will fill, a fan base. People will come out and fill the seats and stuff. So I think it's, if you get enough of a following.
It's like a proof of concept. It's like, I can do an hour.
Yeah. No, I'm very jealous of you. You're producing way more content than I am. I'm still doing jokes from like 2004
and doing that. Yeah.
Still breaking out that Jehovah joke, whatever works. I'm breaking out at a ship.
And it's fascinating because doing an hour of stand-up, especially when you're doing short sets in the city, whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, that there's a certain escape velocity moment at a stand-up set where when you cross that 35-minute barrier, right? That's like the Chuck Yeager moment, because if you can go beyond that, right? Like that's the thing where it starts to get, for many comics who are used to doing short sets, which is what we do. Yeah. We're used to building a set around a structure of, I'm going to crush at the end. Here's my closer. Here's this. There's a callback here. And so I can do that. But the 45-minute thing, like holding an audience's attention for that duration. Yeah. And there's a certain moment in a set where if you can go, it's like 30, it's around 30, 35, like where that is a different level, because you're taking them where right at that moment where they're probably, for a bad comic, they'll be sick of you, right? Like they're enough, moving on, let's see something else. If you can blast through that and then hook them with something like at that late stage where it really starts to sing, and then you close on a real crusher. That's a really different animal than doing like short sets in the city. It's hard to hone that because you don't get that many opportunities all the time unless you.
And it's also, in my case right now, that also can come, that 35-minute threshold can come after you got to the club. They didn't let you bring any opener. Not that you could afford to. So the audience sat through a host that felt like they started comedy yesterday.
Yeah.
A guest spot that no one told you about, who did twice the time they were supposed to, and it did not go well. No. And then a feature that just insulted everyone for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you got to go up and do that hour. And you're like, this is,
and you get checks dropped on you too.
And then the checks, when you start,
the threshold is when you get checks.
Yeah.
And no one really knows this. This is really minutia stuff, inside baseball stuff, where that kind of stuff that you're talking about right now, it that alters the atmosphere of a room and makes your job harder, makes the whole, like a room is very fluid, and it goes up and down, and the energy and focus level goes up and down depending on who's on and what happens and everything else. And you've seen rooms get alienated alienated and destroyed by a comic, or the standards lowered, or the discomfort level heightened, and you have to navigate that, especially if you're following that and you're the guy. Where did you do all
and they're not there to see me because I'm doing clubs. I don't have a big enough following yet. I don't sell tickets, so I'm headlining clubs that have a built-in following, and So
where did you do the longer sets? Where did you go to do that?
Like for the headlining stuff?
Yeah, when you were home, when you were working, how long is your specials?
The first one's close to an hour. It's like 57 minutes or something, which I wanted just to get close to that 60-minute mark, just for my own ego and to prove I could. And the second one was interesting because the set was like 70 minutes, but the special's about 45.
Oh, okay.
I cut a bunch out.
Where did you
not
go?
Because it didn't work. We honed it. We kind of like edited it afterwards.
Right.
In terms of like thematically a little bit and stuff. But
where did you go to home? Where did you go to do run those hours?
Well, the first time was interesting because that was built on 5-minute open mics and then 10-minute guest spots. And what I did for 3 months, I went to a mic. Like I grabbed a microphone off a mic stand in my apartment and went through the whole thing as if I was at the Beacon Theater. Word for word, pausing for laughs. And I would record it and then listen back to it because I'd let myself riff. So I'd find some lines and tags and callbacks. Yeah. And you can't tell if the jokes work because you have to assume the jokes work.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I gotta find, I don't get enough stage time. So it's better than nothing. And and I'm learning it. And I'm learning like the cadence and rhythm of it. And it's helping me reorder and move stuff around. Yeah. And then I got a few chances to run it. I maybe only ran it 2 or 3 times before we taped at most. And then the second one, I was more starting to headline some rooms around the country and in Canada where I at least got to do it a few times.
Cool. That's great.
And now the new hour, I'm not in a rush to tape because it's fun just to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want, until I think it's at least 50% better than the second one, I wouldn't want to tape it. It's got to be better.
Yeah, when I did Letterman, I rehearsed it in my apartment dozens and dozens of times, and had my girlfriend, say, and now, sorry, a very funny guy making his debut here tonight. And we recorded it from moment to moment, like we were doing it, no stopping, we was just so it just got drilled and drilled and drilled. Treat it exactly. That's what I tell anyone. If they're doing a TV spot, set up a camera in your apartment and pretend you're on that show. And just
I would also I visualized the club and I was like, which direction am I approaching the mic from? Mm-hmm. I went and I would walk to it the right way. This is the way I'm going to be walking towards the mic when I record.
Yeah.
This is the way I'm going to do it in my apartment.
You guys are really nerdy. I don't think I could ever do that. There's no way I could do that and take myself seriously. I'd just be like, I gotta.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
I'm just gonna wing it. A lot of my comedies, I'll just wing it. Well, we were talking about the stuff like before the show, before you actually get to the microphone. I'm going to chime in on that. Where I think the hardest thing that I've ever had to do was doing cruises where there's no comics. There's nobody, and you got to do 45 minutes on a family show, and you follow a cruise director saying it's comedy night, and that's it. And they bring you up, and then there's just nothing. And you're by yourself. There's been no comic on the show. Nothing's been happening in the room. Nobody's got the crowd up at all. And you have to find this thing in you that you're basically MC feature headliner, and you got to find that thing in there. So that's also another thing that comics have to deal with sometimes. Sometimes you have to go up cold and there's nothing in front of you, and sometimes you have to go up and there's all this chaos in front of you. So it's
that's the classic benefit show where they're like a moment of silence for whatever the bad thing happened. And now let me introduce the comic.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how many cancer things I've done like that. Where you're just like there's some memoriam and you're just like, oh no. Now let's do comedy.
That is such an underrated and underappreciated aspect of comedy. Is I can't even tell you, if you have an opener, they take the slings and arrows and they set up the room, and you see where the weak spots are, and you see what's going on in the room, and the attention and focus slowly begins to congeal. onto the stage, and that opener, it's a thankless job, but just having an opener do that so that they go, so they know basic joke structure. The audience goes, oh, that's a setup, that's a punchline, and you watch the audience suddenly become an audience, but in that situation where they just throw you on stage. And then I've seen great comics, to get thrown up in that situation. There's nothing you can do. The audience is disparate level.
Yeah.
There's not, and then they go, this guy's not funny. This guy's not funny. But if a guy had done 8 minutes before him, they'd be crushing right now, right?
Yeah. And ships, they're all over the place. Sometimes you'll have two comics. We're both doing like 25. Sometimes you'll have like that, no comic, you're doing 45. And then, sometimes they'll have a thing where you do like a family show and then you do an adult show, but you can't repeat anything off of the family show. Then I'm like, yeah, but it's like sometimes you need a couple of those lighter jokes to get to the darker jokes. So when I do the adult show, it's just all dark, and it's just like I feel like the darkest comedian, the dirtiest comedian, because I don't have anything to set it up with. There's no.
And then is there ever like the guy in the front row that's mad at you because you took the last 5 shrimp from the buffet?
No, but that's the guy that wants to talk to me when I'm going for the shrimp about my set last night. Yeah, you got nowhere to go. That's the thing on a ship. You're just like, yeah, you can't just get in your car or get on the subway. Like you gotta. You're like, hey, you guys didn't like me. How's it going? Good to see you again.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's, but I've gotten better at it, and I've figured it out, and it's like you make money, and we're all like trying to figure this thing out. But
I don't know if you've ever done this, but I used to sit around, and I think I embarked on a project in order to come up with a 5-minute piece in which I anything that I could do where I introduce myself. Like I wanted to do like a British accent or whatever, some guy going, I'm here to introduce a very funny man, and then I come up and do anything. I wanted to come up with something that was self-contained that I could do either on stage, because even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 3 minutes, so many times you go up at a show like that and they just go, this next guy's he's been on the David Lederman show. He's been, he's been on Comedy Central. Please welcome Brian Scott McFadden. And you're just going up to a dead energy and everything else. I wanted to come up with some universal comedic device or stagecraft thing where I could have that built in, but I never cracked the code. I never came up with one, but I always wanted to.
I think you're better than that. I don't think you need that. I think your comedy is too good for that, because I hate it when one thing I hate more than anything in this world is when a comic goes up with an accent and then you think they have that accent and they're like, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not from Australia. No. You're like, I want to murder that comic.
Right.
I gotcha.
I gotcha.
Yeah. That's Jim Myers. You remember Jim Myers from Long Island, who did Germany's #1 comedian? They would bring him up as Germany's #1 comedian. And he would go on stage with a German accent. And he would go, I know you are thinking that Germans are very structured and ordered. And this is not true. Anyway, joke number 1. Okay, right. And he had these great jokes, and then he just suddenly break character and be himself after like 10 minutes. It was very weird.
I hate it so much. Well, we both know a guy. We're not going to say his name because he did prison time, but he would go up and pretend he didn't have an arm. And he would just like, he'd have no arm, and then we would do jokes and never say anything about it, and just for like 4 minutes, and then he brings it, and then he gets off stage, and the MC comes back, and then brings him up, and he has a hand.
I think I know. Oh, I know who that. Okay, now I know.
Yeah.
But did he do that as his official opener all the time? I thought he just did that once in a while.
He did it on Evening at the Improv. He did it a lot.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, right. So it was like his thing. But anyway, I mean, who am I to judge? Like, if it works and it's good for you, that's the thing about this whole thing about comedy. It's like, I think Carrot Top kills, and there's certain guys, and he's multi-millionaire, whatever. So it's like for people to be like, that's not comedy, or this is that, or this is, I'm not the one to judge. If people are buying tickets and they're enjoying you, then you're doing something right. But there's also a purist.
And but then Dustin and I have this fight all the time. I don't know, maybe we haven't thought about this, but where's the hack where is the hack stigma? Because I always feel like there has to be some semblance within our community for stigma against doing like back in our day it was Gilligan's Island jokes or
if
you know there was
five comics are talking about you like to each other, then you're probably a pretty much a hack. Like if somebody's like, you know, because there's like a cruise guy that we all talk about, and then I'm like, yeah, it's like every comic I work with is like, did you work with that guy? And then it's just like, so yeah, I think comics know.
Well, it's a moving target, right? The first person that wrote the Gilligan joke, it was probably a great joke.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then over time, and the problem is when people when they don't want to get rid of it, it's like, hey, everyone has their Uber whatever joke now.
Yeah.
Which is not as
I think Dennis
funny.
Miller had a Gilligan joke. Like there's it was like that's very funny.
Of course. I'm talking about but you know what I'm talking about. There's the Gilligan's Island joke where, the professor can make a computer out of coconuts, but he can't fix the hole in the boat. Right. I heard 97 comedians do that. And at a certain point you go, okay, there's got to be some quality control in our industry in which there's a certain level of awareness of that's what we used to just call hack, come on, right?
I blame the audience. I blame the audience. It's like, that's the problem is it's like, when they laugh at it, it tells the comic that it still works. And so it's like, that's the problem. These crappy audiences.
I think it's also that some comics seem to have this view that they don't want to watch other comedy because it's going to somehow affect their own. Whereas I think people I don't think a great painter like averted their eyes from other paintings,
True. Right.
There's 3 comics over the last 18 months that all had the exact same opening joke in their special. And these were like Netflix, Hulu specials. I made a little clip I sent just to a friend of mine. I clipped out the opening jokes and they're exactly identical. Yeah. And I don't think anyone stole anything.
What's the joke?
It's a quick little line. I don't want to say it because someone might hear I get in trouble, but it's a quick little joke, but it's you just didn't hear. You're not listening enough.
Yeah.
It's too obvious.
I agree. I think it's like
other people are doing it.
You have to be careful, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it's like it's important to know. Yeah, like Brock and Picasso. You look at those, the cubism. It's like you can't tell which is which. Like I don't know if I'm being too deep in the art world.
Yeah, I mean, and people people will say like I have a Bigfoot routine, and there's a guy that has a well-known Bigfoot routine. I didn't see it until then, but mine's different and very different and different take on it. But there was like one line that was very similar, and I had to take it out because I was like, okay, I don't want anyone going, you saw that guy. And I'm like, no, I didn't. But, and it's common online. It was obviously had a lot of likes online. So people assume that you must have seen that. And it's like, no, it's an obvious joke. First of all, I didn't even think I was reinventing the wheel on that one to say that, they don't find Bigfoot on Finding Bigfoot. That's not, I didn't think oh my God, no one's ever thought of that, so, but you have to make it your own. And if there's something that there's one line that I remember somebody told me, there's a guy doing that. I watched it and I go, oh, he's got a joke that's similar. It's not the same, but I'm nixing that out of mine because I don't want anyone calling me out on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, Adam, what's something that you're working on now that you're excited about? Like the premise of a joke that you like, you have that joke, you're like, you enjoy telling it on stage. You have something new that you...
I'm trying to think of just how dark to be. Because Brian actually helped me with one, but it's a very dark idea.
I want to hear that. I want to hear this. We can cut it out if you don't want it afterwards. Can't we in post?
Yeah, we can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the premise is that 9 months after 9/11, the birth rate spiked. So if you just go by statistics, 9/11 resulted in a population increase.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff about birth rates and I was having trouble getting into the joke, and Brian heard it, and he was like, "Oh, you got to flip these two pieces," and it made all the difference. Because now I start by talking about the World Cup, and whatever country wins the World Cup, 9 months later, they have a spike in their birth rate.
Yeah,
and then I could talk about other things that cause birth rate spikes, blackouts, blizzards, tragedies, and then I can get right into 9/11.
Yeah.
Then it has a fun ending where I talk about all the extra babies that were born are now DJs and social media influencers. So it's like the terrorists played the long game.
That's
The joke.
See, that's a
Great
prime
joke.
example of like 9/11 in some people's eyes might be a tired premise. And so you're able to take something that is very much, you know, at one time, a lot of people were talking about, and then now, and it's also a sensitive thing for people to talk about. And then you're able to kind of turn it into, you know, the birth thing, which is very funny. I think that's called looking at something and just, and because we're always saying there's so many tired premises. How can we make something new? How can you do a new 9/11? Because I didn't think you could. And then you prove that, you know, you can find another angle on it. And so I think that's great.
Yeah. Look, everything's been talked about. It's very hard everyone's talked about everything. There's a lot of comedians and we're all trying to come up with jokes.
Yeah.
But it's to your point, it's your voice, a new angle.
Yeah.
And the framing of a joke, how you ramp into it makes all of the difference. It's like you can have a great joke, and if it's not if your segue is off, or the sense of it, or it's not light enough, you have to ease them into it sometimes, like that joke. And it's like you can have a great joke, and if it's like, but that joke, that 9/11 joke is like, let's say, jarring to an audience. They hear it immediately, they turn off. So you gotta calamine lotion that and give them like ease that into it, lube it up, and then let them not hit them too hard.
There'll still be somebody.
My new favorite joke though is about giraffes. It's not at all controversial. It's a giraffe joke.
What's the giraffe joke?
It's about how giraffes mate.
Oh,
How is that?
I don't need, but
Please,
but it's an interesting example.
We write
of me
on this show.
listening.
That's why I wanted you to talk about it. What's the giraffe do?
What's the giraffe joke?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the way it starts when the news gets just too heavy for me. I just watch YouTube videos about animals, and now I've become obsessed with the mating habits of giraffes. And I'm talking about the animal. It's not a euphemism for gay guys with long necks.
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are flamingos. I'm talking about giraffes.
Yeah. Right.
Because, you know, a male giraffe. I'm going to now do do the whole bit, Dustin. You made me. But,
Do the bit. That's what this show is. You were our first guest. So, yeah.
Okay. A horny male giraffe will go up to a female giraffe and headbutt her in the bladder till she pees, and then he drinks the pee. Can tell if she's ovulating. If she's ovulating, he continues. If not, he wanders off to find a different female giraffe. That's why we don't do it giraffe style, because it involves drinking urine and felony assault. But can you imagine if that worked for humans though? Like that would change birth control, right? No more condoms or IUDs or pills, just a shot glass and a sophisticated palate. And then I've also become obsessed with the mating habits of flamingos. Not the animal, gay guys with long necks.
There you go.
That's the bit.
That's
Nice
how you
little
close
fun
the show
ending.
right there, everybody.
There you go. See, that is masterful joke writing, folks.
Yeah. So tell everybody about your specials, where to follow you, and all that fun stuff. And
Oh, sure. Yeah. On Instagram at Adam.Muller, Muller. A couple specials on YouTube at Adam Muller Comedy, and a Dry Bar special. If you've got the Dry Bar app, go check that out.
very cool. Yes, check out Adam. He's very funny. He deserves your views and your attention. Very funny guy. Go see him live. He's really good. Live, he can do everything: crowd work, jokes, whatever you need, man. He's gonna pull it out. Because he has the Greenwich Village Comedy Club training ground, so he can do anything in comedy.
That's where it came from.
That's
Right
where
there.
it came from. All right.
Absolutely.
That was cool. Great show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Adam. It was great. Give
All
us
right.
1 second. Make sure you're downloaded.
Oh, of
Thanks
course.
for listening, everybody. Follow us, subscribe, Chasing Comedy. That's where you can never quite catch it, but we're going to try. Oh, new catchphrase, Brian. You like that?
It's pretty
I
good.
like that one. I like
That's a
that.
T-shirt.
Put that on a refrigerator magnet.
Well, folks, that's our show. It's time for us to go. Make sure to follow us, give us a like, drop us a comment, and always subscribe. We're at Chasing Comedy on all the socials. We hope you had a gas, had some laughs, and maybe you learned something too. Until next time, we're Brian and Dustin, and we're Chasing Comedy.